All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast powered by our friends over at X2 Power Batteries. As always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbrett, and next to me doing some hand signals is the captain, Mr. Andy Full.
I don't know quite what to do with my hands, Yes. No. What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing all right. I'm ready for the work week to be done so that we can go freaking fishing this weekend. That's what I'm ready for.
Yeah, one of us is going fishing, maybe.
One of you?
Yeah, one of you, right? No, we've been having some boat troubles. So, we're on a great boat search right now. Maybe some stuff coming here in the next week or two. Next week, I'll be camping at the St. Lawrence. So that'll be fun, with or without a boat.
Will you be fishing in one way or another?
If I find a boat before the end of this weekend and I can buy it before I go, I'll probably take a rod or two.
You're not even gonna take a rod, like if you can fish from the bank?
Oh, I can fish from the bank. It's just
It's summer around the slaw, man. There's fish everywhere.
Yeah, I just don't know where our campsite is going to be. Last year, we were right on the water, so there's like a 10-foot bluff wall I could cast a drop shot off of and always catch like 15 to 16-inch smallmouth. But I don't know if we got the same campsite, and I got to figure out if I even buy a boat, if I can take the boat. There's a lot of things in work in progress right now. So I took the boat before, but I don't know if I buy a boat. I don't know if I want to leave it in the parking lot unattended. I'd rather have it on my lot with me next to. So, but there's no electrical hookups. So it's an interesting thing. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's good. Good luck, buddy. Good luck, soldier. Yeah. That's all I gotta say.
So, but there are some intriguing boat prospects out there, so I'm pretty pumped. Hopefully, one of them hit. So it'd be cool.
That would be nice. I hope for you. Because I selfishly want to get on your boat.
Yes.
So I can get out of the kayak for a day.
Yeah, one of these days, if you stop being a world-renowned traveler, maybe we could actually fish.
We've only been out. Now that my traveling's done. My travel season's done, which is nice.
Yeah, you say that now.
Okay, I have one 2-day span I have to fly in September. Beyond that, we'll have states in September, which I'll be gone for 4 days, but that's literally I'm an hour and a half away. That doesn't count as traveling.
Maybe I'll bring my boat and just follow you around if I don't have guide trips.
Dude, total sidebar, but my cat is the biggest, cannot be left alone.
Sidebar. That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I even, he can't be left. He follows me around everywhere. And my fiance gets him, and she's never home, so I'm stuck with the damn thing all day.
Dad
follows me around. He's scratching at the door right now because I closed the damn door. Yeah, I might have to let him in here in a second so everyone's not hearing meow 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 on the dang podcast.
Yeah, but I can't hear him, but so you're good.
It's annoying me. But dude, this weekend I'm in some turmoil here. I don't know what to do.
You should just fish the tournament. Screw it. What else do you have going on?
I mean, I could just go fun fish a brand new lake. That's a thing I'm struggling with. Do I fish a tournament because derb season's fun? And out of the 5 tournaments going towards AOI for this trail, I have 4 wins and 1 fifth. And I kind of selfishly want to make it potentially 5 wins, but I feel like this place gets freaking nuts, especially on a Saturday, and it's pleasure boater galore. And it'll be miserable because the fishing already sucks this place. So why don't I just go try and fish a couple new lakes, sleep in my truck, fish a couple more lakes, places I've never been to before, which on Google Earth look amazing. I'm kind of 95% leaning towards go fish.
Just go have fun.
That's what I'm thinking, which by the looks of these places, hopefully be doing what we're going to be talking about here in the episode today. We're going to get into it in a second, but we're going to be talking about punching grass mats, that whole shebang. Before he claws a hole through my wall or my door, I'm going to go let this damn cat in here. So give me a second.
Yeah, cats will get you anytime. Now, full disclosure here, Bailey is far more educated when it comes to punch fishing. It's not something I do all the time. I'm more of a sparse grass fisherman, but I have dabbled with it a little bit. deep water smallmouth and punching really aren't two of the same. So this is going to be fun, I think, to talk about. And maybe I'll even learn a few tips and tricks. Kitty.
This is the dumbass himself. You see he's cross-eyed. So he somehow found the door.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, he's an idiot. All right.
He looks like he's ready to fall asleep.
Yeah, because he's stupid. All right, go. Shoot. He's going to lay at my feet. Okay.
This is a great start to your Friday morning if you're listening. So
yeah, listen about my cat problems when he's laying on my feet. Good gosh. So really fast before we get into the show, there's a couple more things. I want to quickly plug that episode 7 of Chasing Hardware dropped this past week, and I'm working tirelessly to edit episode 8 from the tournament days of the Susquehanna River to get that out on Monday. So if you're not already subscribed to the Be the Fish YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate it if you want to watch some bass fishing. But beyond that, Andy and I are going to be getting together, hopefully to fish, but also to pour that
jigs.
That's right. That new Do It Molds, that hybrid grass jig thing looks like you could flip it. You know, kind of not like your typical, hybrid grass jig but it's like one where you can flip it, and swim it back, but also kind of like throw it in the shit and not have to worry about getting hung up.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how it goes. I want to fool around and get some different hooks to play with it. It looks like a unique design that I like things that can do multiple things, and this is one of them. So I'm looking forward to figuring out what trailer goes best with.
It's the line of the night.
Yeah. What?
I like things that could do multiple things.
Yes. It's been a long, tiring couple weeks for me. So
you poor thing.
I know it is.
Andy almost broke his leg.
I did. Broke my boat.
Broke his boat.
Yeah. They
didn't do the same two in the same time.
No, separate incidents, but yeah, I haven't been on the water since last Tuesday. So it's going on 10 days, 11 days. So it's I feel like I'm starting to lose my rod touch. So it's scary. I'm gonna have to
need to see a doctor about that.
Yes, it's personal problems.
Good gosh. Well, on that note, let's talk about punching.
So walls. Got it. No, just kidding. No, so punching grass. I know this is something that you absolutely love to do. You have perfected the setup for you, right? So why don't we tell everyone what your setup is? Because mine is kind of just put together, messing around, trying a bunch of different things. So because it's not something I do all the time. Very rarely do I punch, but it seems like every tournament that you fish lately in the summer, you have a punch rig tied on. So dive on in, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, being from New York, we don't exactly get the chance to punch all that often. I'd say the closest, there's definitely certain fisheries we have up here in the north that get matted vegetation. And some of it is like that juicy cheese milfoil combination. Some of it is, honestly, majority of it's just like trash mats that you can punch through.
Yeah.
We're not like the South where you get Gunnersville and you have miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of mats that you can go and punch all day long. We don't get that. It's like we have a summer tournament. It's like I'm gonna go frog this, and then I'm gonna frog that. I'm gonna go punch this, skip this dock, and then I'm gonna go fish offshore for a couple hours. Come back, punch that mat. It's like. You're kind of like you got to do a cycle of things for the majority of New York. It's not speaking for all of it, but summer fishing in New York, it's pretty much that in a nutshell. Again, we do have some submerged grass patch, especially we get some thick clumps of milfoil that 5 by 5 feet things that you can you don't think about it. I don't think many people do it. Is they'll take 65-pound braid or 1 ouncer and you punch submerged cover stuff that's not topped out. And that can catch them just as good. It's the same kind of deal. It's just a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, setup wise, I still, and this could go down a whole different rabbit hole, but I am anti this kayak rod BS. I don't believe in it. I don't think that's a thing. I think that's a gimmick to sell rods to more quote unquote kayak anglers. Because, dude, I flip a 7-Eleven and a kayak, and I have no problem. Now, I flip it sitting down, and I've been fine. I literally boat flipped my.
You get so much like
You don't have
pendulum
to do
lift.
anything.
Yeah,
You're
because
just flicking your wrist at that point, especially if you got a rod that's light enough.
yeah, and you're so silent up top of everything. The fish probably don't even really know you're there.
Yeah, like no graph, no nothing, which is kind of nice. And like, I mean, it's not the optimal way to sit down and flip, but like when I won that tournament was it 2 weeks ago? My biggest fish came punching, and I was sitting down. And it's pretty dang easy to boat flip that sucker in the kayak. Yeah. Especially because like, and this goes even for if you have the right setup. This even goes for like if you got a boat, you can even honestly punch from the bank. As long as you have, I mean, that big enough weight, you have the right setup. You have a heavy enough weight, like a 1 ouncer. You're letting the weight basically do all the work with it's the weight in the rod. Like Andy talks about the pendulum. If you can like perfect the timing with your setup, I mean, punching is very easy. Now, if you have a heavy freaking rod all day long, you're punching, it can get kind of straining. But and hopefully it's straining because when you set the hook on that sucker, you're wrenching them out of like the crap, and it's a lot of fun. But it's kind of like combat fishing. My setup is a 7-Eleven Abu Garcia Fancista X. It's a heavy fast, and then I have a Abu Garcia STX with I think it's like a 7-3-1. 65-pound braid. The weight is variable to whatever the mat is. I'll have either there's some places where I could take a queen tackle tungsten like a 3/4 ounce and flip. There's times where I'm flipping 1.5 ounces. I haven't found a time yet where I need a 2 yet. That would be kind of fun though to have 2 ounces. I mean this is where it gets like tricky. I feel like I'm about to go down a rabbit hole here, but
man, you
I know,
are the rabbit hole king tonight. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
It's a really cool way to fish that I don't think a lot of us. I think when we get these techniques down the south, they're like, yeah, punching. Like everybody knows about that. Like for us, we're like, oh man, we get the punch. Like this is awesome.
We're like scrambling to get the rod out of the box. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, there's mats in 8 foot of water. We're about to jack them.
Oh my God, there's 2 mats in the whole lake. Let's go fish them.
Yeah, like you have to just because they're there. But.
Right. But like there comes a point, and I haven't. It'd be really good to like we just had Mikey on the show. Well, you had Mikey on the show. It'd be good to get Mikey back on here. Mikey is amazing at punching. But there comes a point when you get a big enough weight that it's almost kind of scary to fish because it'll blow out their mouth, and it'll especially if you don't set the hook right, that hook will come flying out of their mouth and you miss a bunch of fish. So that's like sometimes I think about like 1.5 ounces. If you have enough depth, it's almost worse just moonballing the damn thing and letting that thing with impact and inertia go through that mat versus trying to go heavier. But so I usually do two bobber stops, weight, and then my confidence hook is a owner jungle, like a 4/0 or a 3/0, depending on the bit. I usually start with a 3/0. I usually don't try to go to a 4/0 because 3/0 you're always pinning them on that thing. I got more confidence in a 3/0 than a 4/0. But I don't think you'll go wrong with a 4/0. I'm afraid of throwing a 5/0. I feel like that's too big.
Yeah,
in my mind.
In a straight shank hook, like a 5/0, like the one bait that I could think of that you might be able to fish the 5/0 hook with, and I don't even know if Omnia carries this bait. Hold on, I'm gonna search real fast while I'm on here.
You could throw like a Magnum Pit Boss or something, or a Magnum Rage Bug or something like that,
or the Reaction Innovation Double Wide Beaver would be like one of the odd exception baits that you could do a 5/0.
The Double Wide Beaver, is that thick? Like, is it thin profile, or is it like wide and thin, or is it just bulky?
It's bulky. So it's virtually like your 4 1/4 inch or whatever is your 4-inch normal beaver, but it's 5 1/4 inches, and it's got thicker sidewalls. It's taller. It's wider. Like it's a big bait, and I've seen a couple of good buddies actually catch a lot of fish on those giant things. So
I got some Can you see this cat?
I can hear him.
Can you see him trying to climb in the
kitty?
Let me go fix this damn thing before he breaks my window.
Silly kitties. But yes, so Omnia does have double wide beavers. Now, one important note that I do want to touch on here that Bailey stated, and I can't like underappreciate the importance of it anymore, and that's double bobber stops. Like you have to double bobber stop, especially when you're running the weight and a straight shank hook, because what it does is when that fish bites it, do you snell? Like do you snell? Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you snell with that double peg on your line, it doesn't allow your weight to come flying up. So therefore your hook just roofs every time. If you know how to set that hook properly, you're hooking on the top.
Weight comes down and it'll go like this.
Mm-hmm.
So your hook, so like right here is the end of the hook. So it comes down, angles. I mean, this is a horrible representation. We probably should have had like, I have a flipping stick in my truck, but like if you look up a video, just simply look up snelling.
So this is not a punch
perfect
setup, but virtually this is what happens when your straight shank hook is snelled. It will just go like that, and the hook.
It'll make that hook perpendicular. Therefore, like when the angle of your line goes to go up versus having it straight, that perpendicular angle from the weight to the hook will therefore pin the top of the fish's mouth a lot better. Especially when you have a setup like that, you're not like, it's not like you're flipping a jig on fluorocarbon and like giving him the ever living beans. You're not doing that. You're not slacklining him. You're basically feeling till pressure. You either feel the bite and reel into line, like get line tension, and all you're doing is almost kind of like a lift, like a quick lift. Like that's all you need, because that setup, I mean, when you have that heavy of a rod and you have that heavy of braid with that stiff of hook, you don't
There's
need
no
much.
give. There's give.
Nothing. So when you set the hook really hard, all you're doing is taking that weight, blowing that fish's mouth open, and that gives it that split second of time for that bait to shoot right out through their mouth. Yeah. That is not what you want to do.
So like when you're fishing braid, like one of the most important things that I have found when punching and you're getting bit, and I don't punch nearly enough. Most of my punching comes from like the sparse milfoil, sunken milfoil under, and I'll throw like a 3/4 ounce weight. But when they eat that braid, it's important, and this is all time on the water. You almost want to hear that when you listen to like the Elite Series and MLF and the BBT and the MPFL fish. You hear that, like you want that loud squeal. You don't want to whack them. You want to, if that makes sense. It's you have to find that
your
perfect
setup
speed.
Do all the work.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it comes down to. Is that's why like there's certain techniques in fishing that you have to be. You know, there's universal rods all over the place, and people will tell you a bunch of different things that you can use a universal rod for. There are definitely certain techniques of fishing that are very meticulous, and that is one of them.
Yeah.
You have to be like we were talking offline. You can get away with a 7.3 heavy. There's rods you can get away with, but it's not going to be optimal. You're going to lose fish with it. It's going to be a little bit more challenging. That certain things like that. Like it's having the right setup is going to make punching a lot easier, which could be frustrating because it's another setup you need. But I mean, when you do it right, it's so much dang fun, dude. Like, I mean, we'll get into the actual fishing of it here in a second, but like, there's a couple different things you can do. So I will say you don't need to have you don't have to have a 7.11. I've punched with a 7.6 heavy. You know, you can get away with you can easily punch with a 7.9 heavy. I think if you really want to get into punching and like dive into the depths of it, you need to play around with it. You need to find your setup because not everybody's is going to be the same. I think if you have a harder hook set, you probably want to go down and like if you can't help yourself for like hitting those fish, go
medium
down
heavy. Medium heavy.
Yeah, go down in that rod, like in terms of the power. That way you can still jack them, but just know that it's like with that rod, though. I mean, you're not going to have as easy of a time yanking them out. I mean, there's certain guys that their system is lighter because they hit them harder. They get them to the surface, and their plan is to keep the tension and trolling motor over and grab them through the grass. Like they don't yank them out, which doesn't seem efficient to me. But
there's a lot of places too where the vegetation is just so thick, like the California Delta, that you can't. Nope. Like if you get above a 3-pounder, half the time a 3-pounder doesn't come out of it, and that's where you're seeing like your 2.5 ounce weights come into play because they're like flipping water chestnut and hyacinth that's floating all around.
Oh yeah,
And that's just crazy stuff to get a bait through. I don't even know how the bass live in it and see what comes by because it's literally like
well, it's just a canopy.
But like to get through the top of it, it's like this, and it doesn't
well,
move.
that's the thing. They're not getting through the top. They're going under.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying getting your bait through.
Oh, getting your bait, yeah.
Like
yeah, I mean,
getting
there's
them out
times
of
with a
there.
2-ouncer, you just gotta sky that sucker because like even a 2-ounce will slap onto that hyacinth and just sit there.
It's like what the heck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like punching in a kayak. It's like regardless of what you do, you're gonna be going to get thrown into that fish because of the just natural physics with a kayak. Dude, punching is so dang fun because once you like get it down and you get that first bite, I mean, it is very easy to repeat. Like very seldom do you go to a mat, and we'll talk about how you kind of break down a mat here in a second, but like when you find one, very seldom are they alone.
No, they're all in that little like 5x5 area in the mat usually too. Yeah. There's that sweet spot. And there's like some underwater, like this is where I kind of understand it. There's a lot of things that go on underwater that make a spot within the mat the juice, like the quote unquote juice. So, and we'll talk about that as we talk about the mat itself and how to fish. So, yeah.
Is it approaching a mat? I mean, I think when you understand it and it kind of clicks, it's super easy to understand, but it can kind of be confusing, I think, at the beginning. And I think there's certain parts of punching. I think this is more centric to the South because they have it longer throughout the year than we do. But there's certain parts of the mat or certain sections, grass, things you got to focus on, and it's really dependent on time of year. Like per se, to be specific on that, like, and you focus on like the cheese. If people know what the cheese is, it's like you look at a mat and the stuff that's like the brightest yellow and kind of like really nasty on top. That's what's called the cheese. That's usually where you get your best frog bites. But that's like in the fall, that's the stuff that retains the most heat, and that's where most of those fish are going to concentrate to as the water temperatures fall. So you're pretty much almost guaranteed to get bit if you're punching that stuff. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to get bit on the outskirts and stuff. It just means that's going to be your high percentages. Mm-hmm. But like Andy and I were fishing about a month ago at this point now. Yeah. And we got an opportunity to punch. And I really want to get Andy on a punch fish because you hadn't really punched all that often until that point. And like there's a mat, and like the thing you got to focus on like in a mat is you're basically trying to hit the thickest portions of it. Like you kind of notice in a mat, there's certain parts that are almost sporadic, which is like almost the opposite. Can you hear that damn cat?
Oh yeah, he's like, meow.
Bro, chill.
I see it.
Gosh, we're having a podcast here.
Sorry, everyone, for the unrelated inconvenience in the kitty, but
this damn bastard, I tell you,
they're kind of fun sometimes.
If we get 100 likes on this YouTube video for the podcast, I'm gonna throw them out the window.
Jeez.
Rack it up, boys.
Poor kitty.
Like you look at a mat, back to what I was saying, and like the more sporadic stuff is like great for throwing a frog, but like those thicker clumps, you can kind of almost see them. They'll almost glow to a sense, where there might be like 3 different sections that are a lot tighter and a lot thicker. Those are where you want to target. There'll be certain sections where you can go flip edges, and obviously this is all letting the fish tell you, but generally those tighter concentrations are where you want to hit, and it'll help you once you kind of recognize those areas and where those fish are setting up. It'll help you. That first mat will give you the signs. You know, if you get bit, you take note of that, and if it's the same on that second mat, or like say there's a giant mat and you're going like throughout certain sections, if that becomes consistent, then you can really start being efficient with your time and hitting that stuff. And it's kind of cool to see them do that. I mean, you don't think about that too much, but like it's crazy how fish will really be consistent throughout that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Where like there might be like high percentage stuff in the middle, and they're not on the edges. They're only in the middle, those mats. And then there's vice versa, where they're only on the edges. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting how that works.
Yeah, and it's not the one thing I've found with like grass fishing, like sparse grass, milf like clumped up milfoil, even mats. One day, like it could be incredible first thing in the morning on the edge, and then they're in like the back of it in the thick parts. Then you can go back the next day and they're just instantly in the thick parts. And then as the day goes, they move out towards the edge, even though the conditions are the same. But there's something that we don't notice or feel or see, and that's why they change. That's why it's important to fish all of the high percentage stuff until you figure out what's going on that day when it comes to grass fishing. Not just punching, but all grass fishing, because literally grass fishing changes by the minute, I feel like.
Yeah, there was a time in our state championship for kayak stuff last year that I couldn't figure out anything until like it was probably I want to say like the last 3 hours of practice. I couldn't find fish whatsoever throughout the first 2 days of practice, like anything. I had offshore rock piles, nothing on, and go up and I'm on my way back to a ramp and I see this like mat, like there's like a whole pocket. Right? All it is mats. No one else is hitting it. So I tie on, and I still regret this. I tell you about it. I regret this to this day. Is I put on a dummy. I don't put a hook on. I put on a 1 ounce weight, and I go on my first flip. I punch through. Whole mat shakes, and I'm like holding on to this thing, and it won't let go. And I'm like, okay, interesting. This is like the first good bite I've had. And I go my second flip, and I watch like the tail, like half this fish come out and like eat it under the mat, and I could tell it was like a 3-4 pounder. I'm like, okay, this is it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to catch these fish. I might as well go down this stretch of mats and kind of see where I'm going to get bit. And I go down, and I'm like getting bit repeatedly. And I come back the next day, and I learned that there's like timing windows with this stuff. Like I went straight there on tournament morning at like 6:30 in the morning and didn't get bit. And I was like, maybe it was just a fluke thing. These fish are here in the evening, that type of deal. And so I go fishing throughout the day, and it clicks in my head at like 10:30. I was like, maybe this is a timing deal. So I go back, and exactly where I fished, bite, 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 and I was like, got my limit within like 15 minutes. Where it's kind of interesting, and it's still something I'm trying to figure out is like where do those fish go? And that early mornings, I mean, are they there? They're just not eating. Like, is it a light thing? Like, obviously it's low light there, so under those canopies is probably jet black. Like, can I not see it? Is that something I got to soak it longer? That's the one
Did you
thing
try
I'm
to
still trying to
frog it?
figure out. I did. Well, these are mats that like you couldn't frog. They are too thick. It was like the ones where you throw the frog on and it sounds like it hits cranky and like rolls around on it. You're like, yeah, you're not getting bit on the frog in there.
Did you try to fish the grass like on the outside?
Yeah.
And nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, they're probably just dormant inside of there waiting for the sun to come up. And this is where like lunar phases come in as well. With the lunar phases, right? Sorry, you distracted me with the clip. I was like, no. So like, this is where lunar phases are important to like keep track of and what's going on, because if it was a new moon or a full moon or like a leaning, was it weaning or a waxing crescent, the fish could be doing something completely different during the night and the morning. So like that's where moon phases come in with like my fishing prep is I want to know when they're optimal feeding times. When is the moon going to be brightest in the middle of the night? Because that could also be like, if it was a new moon, they might not have ate all night, and that bite could have been really good first thing in the morning, or vice versa. It all depends. Like, there's a lot of different variables that go into that grass fishing.
Dude, I hate the moon. Like, I hate that that's a thing. Like, I'd be very curious how much that factors in, because it's like, what do the fish do? Like at night, they go up, they look at the sky, like, oh, it's a waxing crescent. We might not eat until morning. Like,
no, I think it has something to do with the bait fish, like the moon. Because I'm not like whatever that
biologist.
is. Yeah, I don't understand like exactly what it does to bait fish, but I do know like one of the things, like, I don't know if it's like an old wives' tale or not when it comes to fishing, but I heard crawfish spawn on like a full moon, right? So that's why the bass will be up shallow first thing in the morning or throughout the day during a full moon, because there are all kinds of little baby crawfish running around with giant ones spawning. So I'd be curious, like, down south they have the shad spawn, and it's usually on a lunar deal, like a full moon, certain time of the spring. They know when the shad spawn is going to be, and they can figure out how to target those bass. I wonder if it's the same thing up north. Like, depending on what the bait fish is in that lake, are they fall spawning bait fish? Are they spring spawning bait fish? What are their cycles? And I don't think as bass fishermen, we put enough effort into learning those little minute details. And once we do, like, it might open up a whole new world for us fishermen, honestly. And those that already know about it don't talk about it, because you don't hear about it like at all.
And those are the ones cleaning house at your local stuff.
Yep. Like, I know exactly what's going on. Like, I've heard of little deals of like false shad spawns and full blown shad spawns on some of our lakes in the like fall. And I'm just like, huh.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, like,
rabbit holes.
I don't know. I've never seen.
Well, they're not going to pop.
They're
not going to pop like they do those big gizzard shad down south. Like, for instance, like, I don't care about name dropping Honey Eye Lake, right? We've made fun of it enough. There are points in like the end of September, early October, where you go up in 4 foot of water and there is literally bass popping shad everywhere when the water hits 65 degrees. Just every point that you go to, you can see shad flying out of the water, and they're all alive.
Couldn't that be more though of like, I mean, we're getting away from punching here, but like when they're straight, like when the temperatures are changing, and because of the afternoon temps, like things might change. Like, well, what I'm trying to get at is like throughout that process in the fall, the time frame you mentioned, that's when temperatures really start to change. Like, is there a lake flip in the fall like there is in the spring?
Yeah, so there
couldn't that be why they're all shallow?
It could be, but it seems only lasts for like a week max, where that bite is just insane. Because those bait fish, like after that, they go back out deep and disappear again. Besides like little random rogue schools of baby perch and still like you're the young perch, but there's always like this 1 week period in between September and October, and it's sometimes in September, sometimes it's in October. I've seen them on Honey Eye push up like 4 and 5 inch alive, just blowing them out of the water. And they're only there for like, I'll go like, I've gone 3 times in the same week. 2 of the days it's on, and then the third day it's crap. It's like, oh, it's over.
And it's done.
Yeah.
Man, so. I don't know. I'm so torn on that.
And the reason why I'm talking about this is I know the deal that you're talking about from last fall, and I don't know what the bait fish is on that particular lake, because I know it doesn't have aloes, but I'm sure it has some type of shad base that could. I just it's intriguing to me. These are the things that keep me up at night, like trying to understand fish movements and what's going on.
Remember our episode, and I'll make a note of it here to link it down in the show notes for you guys. So whether on YouTube or MP3, go down below if you guys want to listen to this episode, because it was a really freaking good episode. We had Gary Klein on the show, and one thing he mentioned was not enough anglers anymore are taking efforts to learn the behavioral actions of a bass. I believe that was what his words were.
Yeah.
And because everyone's learning what bass do in this time, what bass are supposed to do in this time. They're researching YouTube, they're researching map study, which is good, but they're not actually studying the behavior of a bass. Like, what do they do because of this? It's not just because of seasonality. I mean, there's small factors like you just mentioned, Andy. Yeah. There's a lot more to that. If you guys are intrigued to hear more about it, go down below and hit on that show. It was actually really, really good. Gary unlocked some dang juice because he's a legend in this sport.
Yeah.
But back to punching.
Yes.
There's very smaller. I shouldn't say very. There's definitely smaller windows to do it in the north. There's a lot of time you could do it in the West, on the West Coast. There's a lot of time you could do it in the South. When it comes to Florida fishing, I mean, that is not my forte. There's so much grass there that I would get sucked into punching every single freaking thing because it all looks good. That's where we need to have someone like a Mikey that can talk about how you need to be like graphing. And from my understanding, that's something you graph and you find like the small depth changes, like a 3.5 to a 4.25. That like that's where if you find those mats, those are the good ones. But
Yeah.
the 1 through 3 suck. Like the small shit like that's like
Well,
very minute.
Well, then the other minute details, like I've never fished for bass in Florida, but I've watched like a lot of informational videos, like Timmy Horton stuff way back in the day, and he said like when you find a depth change, that's usually also a change in bottom composition because all Florida's lakes up shallow, it's pretty much muck, but if you can find that subtle depth change a lot of times the reason why you have that depth change is the fact that on the bottom where the bottom falls out, it's a harder bottom than up on top.
Mm-hmm.
So they might use that little ditch that was created, and it might be a natural ditch or it could be just from hurricanes coming through and a lot of water moving at any time, moving like the mud bottom around. Because like let's face it, if you dig deep enough, you're going to find rock eventually somewhere. So it could be just
saying we should dredge Okeechobee.
Yes, but like that's the thing on Okeechobee. Like you can go for miles and miles and miles in reeds and be all muck bottom. And what they used to do back in the day is they would stick the rod tip down in the water, and if they would find a hard spot, they would mark it on their GPS, and they'd be like, "Okay, this is a spot that I can come and flip later because it's hard." Like they used to just use a rod to stick in the bottom until they found hard bottom. So muck, hard. Like, okay, waypoint. This is a good area.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think it matters where on a lake you find mats. I think it really it comes down to bottom competition. I almost said competition. Composition. And then I think really what it is I don't even think water temp matters, dude.
No,
I think what it comes down to also conditions. I think every single condition you can catch a fish under a mat. It's just some conditions are way better than the others, and usually it's as hot as you can get. Sun's up, no wind. That's usually when you're gonna have a really good punch bite. But I mean, dude, there's times where it's been blowing and it's windy, like and overcast, and you can still catch them punching. You're only gonna catch like one or two, but like it's all dependent on the wind direction. Especially if they're wind blowing mats, you can still catch them, obviously, because it's blowing all the bait under that mat. And that's just a reaction bite. I mean, that's what all punch bite is reaction bite. But there are some cool bites in punching that I haven't yet experienced. And I don't know how much they do it, if they do it here. But like I was talking to our buddy Greg Blanchard over in California. He's been fishing the Delta.
Like how they hang it up on top of the mat and they eat it.
Like apparently crawdads will hang under the mat. Like they'll walk under the thing. So like there's times where usually when you flip in a mat, all people think about is they raise it up all the way up and all the way down. Where I've actually learned from Mikey that you flip down and you kind of just do like small strokes. Whereas if you do like, it's not as effective as the ones raising all the way to the top. But apparently like there's a window where crawdads will get under the mat on the canopy. And all you do is you flip in there, lay it to the bottom, bring it up to the ceiling. And all you do is you let it go down a little bit. And all you're doing is pounding that mat. And apparently it knocks the craws down. But it also looks like a craw trying to get up top, fleeing, and that's why they eat it right at the top. That's why I think I haven't had it just yet in New York where it's like this. I've had it happen in the South, where like a lot of your bites will happen as soon as it hits the mat because they're right there waiting for something either on top, like a frog, something like that. Even bluegills, like because they will pin it against the top. But like. I don't know. It's kind of cool to see like that interest, like people figure that out. I've never figured it out myself. Obviously, this is why we're podcast hosts. We're, getting it out of other people. But like when you bring it up to the top, like apparently what that does is just it knocks the craws loose or makes it look like a fleeing craw, and they crush it at the surface, which is pretty wild. But like I've heard too that the same thing can go like if you flip in and you miss one punch and say on the fall or towards the bottom, that if you flip right back in there and bring it up to the top and hit it against the top, that's where that fish is going to be. The fish isn't going to still be on the bottom. The fish will be following that bait up, and it's going to be looking around up top, where if you put it back on the bottom, it's going to have a harder time relocating it. But if you keep it up, it's going to be more noticeable for that fish, which is something interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty intriguing stuff.
I wish we had more opportunity to do it in New York. Like, it makes me want to get in my boat and drive to like Tennessee or something, a TVA lake in November, late October, and go punch mats for a week just to do it.
Hey, Chick is only 9 hours away.
I know, but it's like
I'm sure there's more places we can go. I mean, there's places in New York we can go
at the end of October.
Oh, right, meow.
Yeah, I know.
Chick shines like Chick's pumping. I thought I saw a post from Fish Dayton that like there was a 9, an 8, and a 6.5 pounder caught in a day just punching.
Yeah, so Chick is starting to fish good again. About time. It's been down for a little bit.
I don't think Chick ever doesn't. Okay, let me rephrase that because people are going to tell me I'm way wrong because I'm about to say something that was way wrong. Chick has always been pressured, always been, I would say, tough. But when you find them, it's like a light switch. Like every fish in the lake is right there. Now, I haven't had those flurries where I'm catching a 9 pounder, an 8 pounder, and all that stuff. But like I've witnessed it happen, and like they're there. It's just you need to know what you're doing. Is basically what it is. Chick is a interesting lady. She plays hard to get. That's why it takes the people, like especially the locals that have been there for so long, putting the time. That's why they know so much about it. Like Caleb is so good out there, but still gets his teeth kicked in every now and then. So it's interesting. That's why we should just go punch up north because all our fish are stupid. So we should just do that.
Fair enough.
Well, it's an interesting window. We only have like early July to like
mid-September. I don't even know if you can say it's like mid-July because a lot of times like our grass isn't developed, like the good grass, milfoil, until like August.
You're shallower, like some shallower bays will have it earlier than the rest of the lake. I mean, there's small stuff, right? I'm not saying a whole lake will have it because, like you mentioned, I mean, there's certain lakes we have that don't get in the mid 70s for water temps until like literally almost August, like now. But there's definitely smaller stuff. We have some smaller tributaries and such that get way hotter, way faster than the rest of the state does, and they'll have matted out grass before other places even have grass. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's just regional stuff. I mean, it's small things like ponds will have it. You can go punch at ponds, stuff like that. I mean, it's not a universal thing for us northern. I feel, although I will say, you probably can do it all over the place in like Minnesota.
Yeah,
you can probably go smoking punching all over Minnesota.
I kind of hope we get to go to that Blackfish Classic next July.
I told Matt we're going.
Yeah,
count us in for next year.
Awesome.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
But dude, punching is so much fun, especially if you can, because it's really I don't want to like. This isn't discrediting guys that are really good at flipping, but like once you like put 2 and 2 together, and I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm just got it enough where I know how to do it and how to catch them, how to like catch them doing it. But like, it's not hard to do mechanically. It's more just reading conditions and how they'll set up and how you can get bigger bites. The small nuances, but to get bit, it is not hard to get bit punching. Just I don't know why nobody does it. They frog it. I mean, frogging's fun, but like punching's fun as heck
because it's work. So
keep cranking.
Yeah, let's be real, right? We live in New York State. New Yorkers do not like change.
I mean, there's a lot of people even south that don't punch.
Yeah, and people don't like change, okay? Humanity does not like change. We like status quo, and I'm going to go on a political rant right now. That's why we elect 80-year-old politicians, because we don't want change. So
here we go.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get out of that rabbit hole.
Start your soapbox.
Yes, soapboxing. No, but like literally, like we are creatures of habit across all boards. You buy a Ford truck, you're probably going to own Ford almost your entire life unless you have an issue with it. If you like a certain brand of cheeseburgers, you're probably going to only eat that cheeseburger until it's discontinued.
That was oddly specific.
Yeah, I'm just saying I eat all cheeseburger.
You couldn't come up with anything better than a cheeseburger?
No. Okay, I'm sorry.
I just got whatever's cheapest because I'm broke.
McDonald's. Ah, now I know your secrets. No, just kidding.
What?
Put on some LBs there, buddy.
Oh no, that's just because I have no time to work out anymore.
McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Fun fact, actually, I had McDonald's for the first time in my entire life. Like, was it a month ago?
Oh, how'd you feel afterwards?
Like crap.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I was like, so this is why my parents never got me McDonald's.
Love it.
I don't know, dude. I don't know how people do that. Like, I know bunch of people that like love like McDonald's breakfast. I don't know how you crazy psychos do it. It looks like crap. It looks fake.
Oh, it is fake. We are the land of fake processed food.
This is very true.
So random rabbit hole fun fact. We have chemicals in a lot of our foods and dyes that are banned in almost every other country in the world. Yeah.
Who was it? My boss has like a oh gosh, basically they're like have like a doctorate in nutrition or something like that, and like they say they'll never let their kids ever eat Pop-Tarts because there's like something in Pop-Tarts that's in like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I haven't bought a Pop-Tart since.
Yeah. Like, and then like you have like red 40 and yellow something, like that food coloring is literally banned in like every country in the world but the United States. If you go over to Canada, I don't even think they put like red 40 and stuff and whatever the yellow color is. Like the main ingredient in Mountain Dew is this yellow stuff. Like it's bad. Because so like America, like as
but they bought my fishing license.
Yeah. So like I'm going back on my rabbit hole rant here. We are a creature of habit and convenience. There's a reason why there are Tim Hortons on every corner in Western New York and McDonald's, and there's 30 McDonald's in every city because we are lazy, we are overworked, and we want the quickest, easiest thing we can get our hands on. And it goes the same with bass fishing. If you know how to drop shot fish and you catch 30 fish a day, even though you're in a tournament and you might catch 12 inches, you're just going to drop shot because you're like, oh, I'm getting bit. Why would I change? So like if you know how to frog, why would you pick up a punch rod? Because you're probably going to catch a fish or two on a frog and you're overlooking 95% of the fish below that mat. So and that was the point I was trying to get to. Like, we don't like change. We don't like trying new things. And it's quite sad, honestly. Like every time I go on the water, I try to learn something new, albeit it be a technique or a different hook or a different weight style. Like when it comes to bass fishing, especially punching, it's such like a specialized technique that once you dial like a certain thing in, it's something you can do repetitively on every body of water and catch fish on the same bait. Because I mean, there's only two colors you need to punch. Am I wrong? Black and blue and green pumpkin. Like they're both gonna get bit.
Yeah, I think it's you can throw whatever.
Yeah,
dark colors because it's under a canopy. I mean, you're not really gonna punch anything else.
So
yeah, are you good there, Miley Cyrus?
Yes.
You Swift?
Yes.
You all right?
It's a party in the USA.
Are you stressed?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just complaining right now. I don't get to complain enough, so I'm complaining.
This is your platform to complain, buddy.
Yeah, just rabbit holing, complaining.
That's right.
Just diving right up.
Everybody send some love to Andy.
It's been a rough 2 weeks, and I'm sorry that your ears have to hear about it now. So, but no, life is good. God. Life is truly good. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. Going back to the color thing.
Okay, digress. Let's digress.
Yeah, like colors to flip with and like baits to flip with. There's a couple of baits. I mean, you really don't have to go too crazy. I think the biggest thing to look at in a punch bait is something that is tough enough, like durable wise, to get through the mat and not like have the hook pull through, but also something that's not too thick that like you try to set that hook, you're not going to get much of the hook in it because that bait is too like clunky. So there's a couple baits that I like that are like super soft and easy, but they're like durable enough to get through mats and punch for a while until they get bit. And first one is actually a Pit Boss. I like going to a 3-inch Pit Boss with a 3-aught because it's small and it's super easy for them to eat it. Haven't had any issues with hookup ratio there. Whether black and blue or green pumpkin, it really just doesn't matter. Whatever the heck I have more of at the time. Any beaver bait, really. I mean, like a reaction innovation sweet beaver is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Or even like a gambler, why not's a good one as well. That's one I've punched with before. It's really, you don't have to go crazy. Like I don't think there's really a quote unquote juice bait for punching. I think it's all about size and hookup ratio because it's a straight up reaction bite.
Yeah.
They're not going to care too much. I know some guys will punch in the wintertime with a creature hog, which is max scent, which creature hog is a little bit tougher than most other max scent baits in terms of the body structure. But because apparently there's something that they don't hold on to it as long. So that's why they use the max scent. But I think over time, I mean, like max scent is great. Don't get me wrong. And I think punching a creature hog is fine. It's just more like
you're just going to go through
you're going to go through more baits. Like even going through punching probably. Like not even catching them, like going through. You probably put the hook through some of them at different times. But you don't have to go crazy. Just small profiles. You don't really I don't really know an instance or know of anyone that flips like a big bait or like punches.
Yeah, like the craziest bait I've seen people punch is like a missile bait destroyer. Like the
I felt like that's excessive.
But like I could see where it would work. Like if you're in like 10, 12 foot of water and it's canopied and basically like empty underneath, if it gets through
more action or something,
it'll kind of slow your weight down and flutter down and get those tails wagging real good. Yeah. But like you need something that goes through fast. You need something that's slender that kind of slows it down. And then like that crazy leg thing, if you're canopied flipping like 12 foot of water, it'll really slow it down even on a 1 ounce weight because those tails are kicking. Yeah. And I think that's really what it is. It's just slowing rate of fall.
Yeah, like if I think I need a slower presentation to punch in, I'll whip out that Queen Tackle punch rig, which is like it's like a weight with a skirt. I think they call them like slither rigs or something like that. That with the same deal, just that's my weight instead. It has like a skirt added to it. That slows it way down too.
Yeah.
So, which I'm actually going to be experimenting with this weekend. I've made up my mind finally. I'm going to go explore a new lake that looks like you can punch on the entire damn thing.
You need to come over and grab some Meg Menace scrubs. Like
I'm going to be flipping a Pit Boss and a D-Bomb. And then if not, I have the Berkeley Boss scrub. So
that work, dude. Like there's something about like that style of bait, like a grub style bait, but with that two tails, it goes through cover so well and it slows it down too. Like it's a good combination of both.
That D-Bomb goes through cover so good too.
It just because there's nothing to slow it down.
So I have 3 different flipping setups I tied on. I kind of half in my mind decided I'm going to go fish this new place because I really wanted to flip and I wanted to experiment with some things. So it'll make for a good Beat the Fish video. Hopefully there's actually fish catches for it. Otherwise it's going to be a pretty boring video for you guys. But I have a punch rig with it's an ouncer with the punch rig on it, like the slither rig, and a 3-inch Pit Boss. And then I have a 1.25 ounces with a beaver, and then I have a 1/4 ounce. This is just like for flipping sparse grass that's in front of the mat or anywhere that's like more sporadic. And I'm experimenting. I went back to my tying an FG knot, trying that back out again. I have like 40-pound braid to 15-pound fluorocarbon FG knot with 1/4 ounce weight and a craw tube. So I'm going to go flip a craw tube around, try to get more confidence in that and see if that is anything I can add to the arsenal. I have a couple other baits that I'm going to try too if things get tough, just to experiment, or if I'm getting bit a bunch to experiment with to add to, and you'll just have to go to Be the Fish YouTube channel to figure that out.
Love it.
Yeah.
You're going to be sending me fish pictures and I'm going to be like, I'm at home.
Man, I hope so.
Me too. You will. I have the utmost faith in you. So,
buddy, I think that really wraps up kind of punching. I mean, we need to get somebody that's like really good on, like a Mikey on to talk about it. Maybe Greg Heckney maybe something like that to get on to talk
Yeah,
about.
I don't even know if Greg is truly like a really good puncher. Like Ishman Rowe is a really good puncher.
We've had Ish on the show.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's done like a million thousand punch shows.
I believe Jay Powell is actually a really good puncher as well. Jacob Prosnick,
Oh,
Wes,
we
Kyle
should get Wes.
Welcher.
Wes is a really good puncher. I was thinking more we get Caleb Kufal on here. Who
That's another good one.
Smoked him at Gunnersville. That would be a fun one. Either way, we'll come up with some show ideas for you guys. We're gonna have some pretty damn cool guests coming on here. We were supposed to. People watched the Tuesday night show. We were supposed to have Milliken on here tonight. Unfortunately, Milliken's not feeling well, but we will have him coming back on here in the next couple of weeks when he's rested up and ready to go. A couple of things coming up. I should not be missing any more shows. Hopefully for a long time. Andy's been holding down the fort, though. So big thank you to Andy. But I am good. Basically, I might miss one potentially in September. But beyond that, I have state championships, my local stuff, mid-September. I'll do my shows from there. And beyond that, I might travel at the end of October. But after that, it is Tournament of Champions time. I'm gone for 2 weeks. So I'm hopefully I can do a show from there. That might be interesting. But we're here, the two of us, for a while. One of us might miss one or two here and there, but it'll be, you guys are stuck back again with Andy and I for the long haul, and then goes into wintertime, and we are on every single time.
Yeah, and there's gonna be some fun stuff coming, like like a super futuristic prelude, but there's a lot of fun stuff coming. Maybe even I don't know. You'll have to stay tuned to find out, because I don't want to spill any beans as much as I want to spill beans. So
and there's some big beans to spill.
Yes, bunch of beans,
big old beans. Well, folks, we appreciate you guys as always. If you're listening on MP3, please leave us a rating and review if you have not done already. That helps us out big time. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Share us with your friends. Let's teach more people about bass fishing and introduce them to some of our amazing guests that we get on this thing. So, as always, folks, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.